Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a Bitcoin update. On Bitcoin right now, guys, there's two major support levels stemming from different time frames. There is the daily chart cliff. I'm calling them cliffs for a reason, because they're cliffs that if we fall below them, if we fall through the cliffs, we're going to be going down more, extensively, seeing a more extensive correction. But there's two of them. There's one at 29.6k, and there's one on the weekly logarithmic chart, an uptrending support line. We're going to be looking into both of those levels today, both of those cliffs, seeing what happens or looking at what would happen if we broke below them, and then discussing the optimal reaction you can take either right now or in the future if we do break below them or if we do hold them. So a pretty extensive analysis, a pretty broad analysis on Bitcoin today. And then we're going to be answering a few of the questions that you guys actually asked me in one of my community posts a couple days ago. So quite a few interesting topics to discuss today. Without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Okay guys, let's get into it. I don't plan this to be a long video. I simply want to discuss the two levels we have that are very important right now and inform you all of why they're so important. And the reason why I'm bringing you this video today specifically is because I think these levels will be tested very shortly, specifically the one on the daily chart. In fact, we're testing it right now. Look, here's the thing. Bollinger Band. This is the first thing I'll discuss. Bollinger Band on Bitcoin. What does this indicator represent? When you see tightening on the Bollinger Band, it is an indicator that we've seen low volatility. For example, over here, we saw intense tightening on the Bollinger Band after a period of very low volatility. What does this mean? It means that after a period of low volatility, you see tightening, the range is so tight, and eventually the range is so tight that eventually you're going to have to see an explosion. You're going to have to see a move to the upside. That's what happens. Periods of low volatility, not only on Bitcoin, but on every single financial market chart, generally, are periods of compression, and they lead to an explosion, whether it be upwards or downwards. When you see low volatility, it means that a move is coming. Right now, we are seeing low volatility. Not only are we seeing low volatility on short term, but we also saw, guys, this is important to note, we also saw Q2 being basically the lowest volume we've seen on Bitcoin since 2020. So the volatility is actually very, very low right now. Yeah, we had a big move over here, that's for sure, but right now, actually in general, on a larger scale, this entire range has lasted a very long time. We've been in this same range between like 25k and 31k between now and March, so it's been 4 months of this range. It's actually a pretty big range to see such, pretty long in terms of time to see such small amount of price action. So look, right now as well, we are seeing a compression on the Bollinger Bands, not only the daily chart. We've been seeing that for about a week now, so that's pretty intense compression. We will be seeing a move quite shortly. Not only are we seeing that compression on the daily chart, we're also seeing that compression start to form on the weekly chart as well. And you don't really see compression on the weekly chart on Bollinger Bands very often. And look, the times that we have seen it, in fact, let's remove Gaussian channel so you can see. When have we seen it? Well, we saw it over here in September, just before a massive move to the upside. We saw it over here in December before a leg downwards. We saw it over here in May before another leg downwards, which was ultimately one of the last leg downwards we took. We saw it over here before the actual last leg downwards we took, and we saw it over here before the start of the most bullish Q1 we saw in 10 years, or 9 years I should say. So you don't see compression on Bollinger Bands very often on the weekly chart. Maybe a couple of times a year, and right now we're seeing it. And how do I know we're seeing it? Well, if you look at the Bollinger Bands, what you can see is the bottom line of the Bollinger Band is compressing upwards and the top line is compressing downwards. That means they're coming closer together, which means we're seeing compression. So at some point here, okay, and I know it's not really helpful to say this, but it's just the reality of the situation, and we'll discuss it a bit more in a second. At some point here, we will be seeing a big move. I have reason to believe that it will be very, very shortly, probably within a week, okay? I think we'll be moving out of this ascending, broadening wedge formation, and that's because of the daily Bollinger Band compression as well as the weekly Bollinger Band compression. So what is the structure on Bitcoin? The structure on Bitcoin, as I said just then, is an ascending, broadening wedge formation. It's where you see a horizontal support line and an uptrending resistance line. Now, this ascending broadening wedge formation is happening right below major resistance. This red rectangle we're seeing here is very major resistance on Bitcoin. It's something that we tested for resistance back in May 2022, something we tested for resistance on 2 occasions in the last few months, and it's something we tested for support on multiple occasions during 2021. So it's not surprising that we're seeing a point of contention at around this red rectangle. And that red rectangle, for reference, guys, is at around 32 or 31k, or it's between 32 or 31k. Again, it's not surprising we're seeing a point of contention. It's not surprising we're seeing this ascending broadening wedge formation, a point of consolidation below something as major as that. Now, what is important about this structure, what we actually can take from it, what we can extract from it, is the fact that 29.6k, the bottom line of support, the bottom of that structure, is very, very important. How do we know that? Well, all we need to do is look at the range itself on the 4-hourly chart, get a little short term look at the range. Look, we moved upwards quite strongly. We retested the macro support we have in Bitcoin at 25k. Okay, we moved upwards very, very strongly in a very short period of time. I mean, it only took us less than a week to move from 25k to 32k or 31k. That's a big move. That's a 26%, 27% move in a very short period of time. And you can see very clearly that we moved, between this entire consolidation region that we have here, very shortly, and we've formed an entirely new short-term structure. This is the short-term structure here. And ever since that move upwards, ever since, it's been actually exactly a month now since we moved into this very local range. So it's a long period of short-term progression. For a whole month now, we've been holding 29.6k as the baseline support, right? We tested it one time over here, one time over here, one time over here, and we're probably going to come test it again very shortly, right? 29.6k hence is the short-term cliff. That's the first cliff we're looking at on Bitcoin, okay? Now, when I talk about short-term cliff, what I mean, as I spoke about in the introduction, is it's a level, it's a cliff, right? If you fall off the cliff, you're going to go downwards. That's what I mean. It's a level of which you need to hold. It's a support zone. It's a very important support zone. And given the fact that we're so close to going below it in terms of actual percentage, okay, I would not, and this is where I'm giving you my suggestion on reaction, I would not be taking short positions before we actually do so. That is a clearly defined support level. We've held it for a month now. A month is a very long period of time if you're having a short-term range like this. We've held it for a month. I would not at all, right, be taking short positions on Bitcoin until we actually lose that. If we do lose that level, then you can start reacting, then you can start taking short positions. Now, technically speaking, it is an ascending broadening wedge, so technically speaking, this structure is bearish, and hence it is more likely to be lost. But, I don't think it's as simple as that, and I really don't think there is, look, here's the thing. I'm not very confident in any sort of opinion on whether this is going to break to the upside or a downside. I think there is a lot of conflicting data. I think I've really represented that quite well in previous videos. And if you're not aware of why I think that, you can go ahead and watch previous videos. I'm not going to sound like a broken record. I've literally talked about it every day for like a month. I don't think there's a clear bias here that is stronger than the other in the short term. But what I can say, and I can say this objectively, is that this is a bearish structure. Okay, this is a bearish structure. Generally speaking, this structure does break to the downside, and ascending broadening wedge is a pattern of exhaustion. So that's the reality of the situation right now. So what I would say, even knowing that it's a bearish structure, I wouldn't recommend rushing into shorts. Short this when it actually does break down. And when it does break down, if it does break down, I should say, I don't think it's guaranteed that Bitcoin crashes like massively, right? There is major weekly chart support. Where is that weekly chart support? Well, first of all, the center line of the Bollinger Bands is up here at 28k, 28.6k. It's not very far below us. We've also got Gaussian channel layering that support zone down at 25k. We've also got something like the 200-week SMA on Bitcoin, which is a very, very important weekly chart indicator at around 27.1k, 27.2k. The fact of the matter is, guys, if we lose this structure, it's really not the end of the world. Yes, it's not ideal, and the reason it's not ideal is because we're at threat of, making this chart look a bit more bearish, in the sense that we would have formed an M formation, in the sense we would have formed a double top formation at major resistance. That's why it wouldn't look very good. But I don't think that it would be the end of the world in any sense. I think there's major support below. But the fact of the matter is, I'm telling you right now, I don't think you should be rushing into short positions preemptively. I don't think let's just be straight, I don't think this structure is guaranteed to break downwards, and I think that if it does break downwards, we won't be going very far downwards, and we certainly won't be going below something like 24.5 or 25k. If we do, that's when we're in trouble. So that's my kind of suggestion for the this level here at 29.6k, and that's the first cliff I'm talking about in this video. 29.6k, very important short-term level. Everyone should be watching that. Everyone should have indicators set, alerts set on that level. That's the first cliff. What is the second cliff, guys? The second cliff I'm discussing here, okay, is actually this weekly chart logarithmic uptrending line on Bitcoin. We have formed, this is important, we have formed a weekly chart uptrending logarithmic line on Bitcoin in every cycle, okay? Now, it's not exactly something that I would consider to be part, like a fundamental part of the cyclical theory or something like that. I just don't think it is. I think it's more or less random. I think it's just more or less a support line that forms. But the fact remains, we have seen it in every cycle before. I mean, ever since the halving. So, for example, we formed a weekly chart uptrending logarithmic line over here in 2011, 2012. It held for a long period of time, and when it finally broke, okay, we saw the last leg of the bear market and the bottom. We saw the exact same thing in 2018, okay? We saw a massive uptrending support line, okay? For the first part of a cycle, we blew off top in the bull market. We disconnected from a line, just like 2012, right? Finally disconnected from the line, okay? And when we finally broke below it, so look, perhaps it is part of the cyclical theory. Who knows, right? We've seen it 3 times. It's just not fully confirmed 3 times, but we'll speak about that in a second. When we finally broke below it, we resisted support, flipped it, and we saw the last leg of the bear market. So that's something that's happened twice, guys. I mean, it's happened twice in a very, very similar fashion. And we are seeing the same thing happen now, okay? And there is not really, look, there's not really adequate reason to believe it's going to happen again fully like that. And the reason I say that is because of diminishing returns. It's also because you need 3 data points to make an actual trend. So far, we've only seen 2 proper data points. I suppose we're in the middle of making the 3rd data point, so it's kind of a little bit grey area still. But overall, look, you know, if we're going to follow what happened in previous cycles, what would occur? Well, I'll tell you what would occur. We would hold this line for a long period of time. We would hold this line for a very long period of time. We would see the blow off top. We would see the bull market peak. It wouldn't look like that. Let me draw that again so it's a bit more accurate, right? Basically, we would bounce off it a lot, and then halving would occur. We'd disconnect from it, see the actual bull market go upwards a certain amount, and then when we finally go below it in the bear market, you know, we'd come down, we'd reject from it and see the last leg. That's what would happen. Now, look, I think this line is moving upwards way too rapidly, given the current context on Bitcoin, for us to see something similar to what we saw in previous cycles. I don't think this line will hold for as long as it did in previous cycles. I think the Bitcoin grows much slower now. But the fact remains, regardless of what you think about cyclical theory, regardless of all of that, the fact remains that this line is important. Why is it important? Well, it's important because, simply, we've seen weekly uptrending logarithmic lines before. They've held very, very intensely before, okay, for quite long periods of time before. And when we drop below them, it marks a major point of the charts. It marks the bottom, okay? It marks a major point of a chart. So whether it's going to mark the bottom again is irrelevant. Whether it's going to hold for 4 years again is irrelevant. The fact of the matter is the line is still important. And so this gives me, you know, my second cliff that I'm talking about in this video. This line is the second cliff. We drop below this line, that's not very good. Now, thankfully for Bitcoin, sorry, and this is very good, okay? Thankfully for Bitcoin, these 2 cliffs, what I'm saying is the cliff at 29.6k and the cliff we're seeing on the macro chart are not really connected. We can drop below the cliff at 29.6k, we can correct downwards, go to something like 28.6, go to something like 27.2, and we can actually hold this cliff on the weekly chart, because this line, assuming we test it in, say, a few weeks, will be at 28k, will be around 27.2k, and we can certainly wick below it. So the fact of the matter is Bitcoin could drop below its short-term cliff and still hold its macro cliff. We don't necessarily have to lose both if we go downwards here on Bitcoin. And that's very reassuring, because it actually means that this line, you know, if we do correct downwards on a daily chart, for example, this line could actually lead to the bottom. So that's reassuring. This is a support line. This kind of adds to the support we have. So I'm not very worried about Bitcoin right now. I'm going to be honest with you. I do think that even if it goes down, it's in a pretty good situation. But I am very clear about the fact, I am very adamant about the fact that we do have very, very clearly defined support zones. Support zones that would be preferable to hold, and support zones that if we lose short positions will be optimal. And those support zones, those 2 cliffs, are at 29.6k, and the other one is very clearly set here as this weekly logarithmic uptrending support line, as well as all the other support we've got on the weekly chart. But these are the 2 lines in terms of horizontal and diagonal lines that are very, very important right now. As for other things in regards to this uptrending yellow logarithmic line, we can also place in a yellow downtrending logarithmic line, and this is something I'm going to discuss more in a future video, and that is stemming back from the top in April 2021, going through to wicks in previous parts of the last cycle, and also wicks just a couple of weeks ago, and we can see that it forms actually some sort of triangular formation with an apex at around September this year, meaning we'll be moving upwards very rapidly or moving downwards very rapidly in a major macro move at some point between now and September this year. But we're going to be looking into that in a future video, looking into what's happened in regards to similar structures in previous cycles and trying to get a better idea on that. But guys, that is the video In fact, no, it's not. Sorry. I have community questions to answer. Let's look at those. Alright, so I asked people what questions they want me to ask about Bitcoin and crypto. I'm going to answer just a few of them. There's too many to answer in one video. Perhaps I'll answer the next ones in a future video. Just the important ones here today that people will find interesting. What are your top 3 favorite technical indicators? Now, I know they're not technical indicators, but I'm going to say them anyway. Guys, if you want to learn how to trade, the most important things you should be looking at on charts consistently are, okay, and I'm going to say a few: market patterns, candlestick patterns, RSI, volume, and basic moving averages. Okay, that's what you should be looking at. By basic moving averages, I mean 21 EMA, I mean 50 SMA, I mean 200 week SMA, I mean 50 week SMA, I mean just basically stock standard stock standard moving averages and EMAs that I use in every video. But ultimately, the most important thing, I mean, at a fundamental level, you should be looking at is RSI, learning how to use it properly with divergences, etc., learning how to chart triangles, etc., and market patterns that match market patterns in the price chart on the RSI. So RSI market patterns are just all arounder. You're going to have to use market patterns in every facet of analysis you do. I'm a breakout trader, and breakouts happen only via market patterns. Candlestick patterns have a similar story, and volume's quite important as well. So those are the 4 really, really, really crucial things. Now, obviously, there's so many crucial things to look at, but those are the 4 absolutely key ones that every single person should understand, no matter what level of analysis you do. Should we be expecting lower levels, possibly 24K? I don't know, as I said in this video, and you probably have answered this question in the video, I don't know if it's something we should be expecting. It's something that's certainly possible. It's something that certainly wouldn't damage the Bitcoin market structure too much. As you guys know, 24.5K, around 24.5K or 25K, that green rectangular box is the top of the previous range we saw on Bitcoin, and it's also something where resistance support flipped already. If we drop below that, we're in danger. If we drop below that, we're re-entering the range we saw for a very long period of time. We do not want to drop below 24.5K. We can certainly go down and retest it. It would not be something that I deem to be necessary, though. It'd be kind of weird if we did it almost, but we can. It's when we drop below that level that we start to lose, any sort of meaningful market structure on Bitcoin in terms of macro market structure, and even medium-term market structure, not really macro. So it's important that it holds. Can we retest it? Yes, technically. I don't think we need to, though. Do you think the Bitcoin will still be around and growing past 2030? Sorry. I think that unless there's any major actions of abuse of power and overreaches by the state, that yes, it will be. I think there is a chance that, look, I don't want to talk about this on YouTube actually, because I think it's quite dangerous. It could get my channel banned, I think. But I think to do with, CBDCs and over-regulation and centralization of power, I think there are certain risks that Bitcoin faces. But I think ultimately, right now, it does seem to be the case that they are adamant on over-regulating rather than straight-out banning, which means that I think that Bitcoin will continue to grow. I think there is a large institutional interest in Bitcoin. I think it's not really a problem of growing in price. I think it's more a problem of remaining true to its fundamental values in terms of promoting freedom, etc., and decentralization. I think there is a risk that Bitcoin becomes a certain amount of centralized, but it's not good for its fundamental goals. But I do think it will grow. I certainly do think it will exist, and I certainly do think its use case will exist in the sense that you won't be able to completely ban its use for its fundamental intended purposes. You can make it docile, and you can make the vast majority of population unable to use it for its intended purposes, but there will always be a way to use it for its intended purposes. But in terms of price action growth, yes, I do think Bitcoin will be growing for a very long period of time, unless something very dramatic changes, unless there is an outright ban across the entire Western world, which I actually don't think that's impossible. I just don't think it's likely. Or at least I don't think it's likely in 2030, given the amount of information I have currently available. And as I said, I think there is certainly an agenda against something like Bitcoin, that's for sure. But I do think the action they will take is something more akin to over-regulation rather than banning. So I do think that growth will be there. I just don't think that Bitcoin will be what it's intended to be if that does take place. How high do you think total cryptocurrency market cap will go in the next bull run? Total cryptocurrency market cap always goes higher than Bitcoin in a percentage form. That's because more altcoins come into the space, and Bitcoin dominance will get dragged downwards. It doesn't mean that Bitcoin's dying or anything. It just means there's a sheer massive amount of quantity of altcoins. That means that the market will be spread out more and more. It's very hard to say how high it will be exactly. That's because we don't really know how high Bitcoin will go. We have speculations. I mean, 120K is a speculation we've made before. But also we just haven't seen enough cycles for it. But let's just say this: in a percentage form, it will go higher than Bitcoin goes from the bottom in a percentage form. That is for sure. For example, in the previous cycle, total cryptocurrency market cap went up like 2,000, 3,000%. I think Bitcoin went up like what, total cryptocurrency market cap went up 3,000%. Bitcoin went up 2,000%. That just gives you an indication. Bitcoin only went up 66% of the amount. If it goes up a similar amount, we could be seeing, as I said, total cryptocurrency market cap will go up more. It's just hard to say exactly where it will go. And I don't think it's relevant, right? It's a completely irrelevant question. It's not going to help us make money in any form. We can, I guess, discuss that when we get more of an indicator of where Bitcoin's actually going. I mean, if we want to be completely simplifying this problem down and assume that we have the perfect price prediction for Bitcoin, we can say, okay, Bitcoin's going to 120K-ish. Therefore, Bitcoin's going up like 600%. Therefore, total cryptocurrency market cap should go up from the bottom like 900, 950%. Therefore, total cryptocurrency market cap will reach something like 7 or 8 trillion. But like, that's just so simplified. We don't actually know where Bitcoin's going to any reasonable degree. It's just a very, very vague speculation. After the halving, we can start to make some actual price predictions on Bitcoin. Right now, we're just making observations. And if you want to see those observations, just type up 120K 2025 Bitcoin Wolves of Crypto, and you can see the observations. Okay, one more question, I think, and then we'll probably wrap it up. When is the best period of the cycle to accumulate Ethereum, and what signals do you use to swap some Bitcoin for Ethereum in the next 24 months? Okay, best part of a cycle to accumulate Ethereum, historically speaking, very simply put, I'm just going to answer you verbally here. Very simply put, the best period of a cycle to accumulate Ethereum and start to trade your Bitcoin for Ethereum, historically speaking, is a few months after the halving, and it lasts for about a 6-month period. At that point, altcoins overtake Ethereum in terms of performance. That is the best time, around a few months after the halving. When it does occur, I will start talking about it. There are certain things to look at in regards to Bitcoin dominance when it starts shifting downwards. In regards to Bitcoin Ethereum chart, that's the Bitcoin denominated in Ethereum chart. In regards to when that starts going upwards, there is a certain period of time to do it. There's no exact period of time that we can specifically look at and predict to the day or to the week, but there is certainly indications from previous histories on Bitcoin cyclically that it happens a few months after the halving, or maybe even a little bit after that. There's a period of time after the halving where Bitcoin continues to run. So look, by a few months, I mean 6-7 months after the halving, probably end of 2024 is when it's going to start happening, but we're going to have to look at that when it occurs. Guys, thank you for watching the video. Check out a few things before it ends. Bitget exchange, 5 times lower fees than Binance, non-KYC, protection fund, reserves information, everything you need on an exchange is on this exchange. We have an exclusive promotion with the Bitget exchange that gives you guys a 15% trading fee discount for signing up using my referral link. We've also got a limited time promotion on the Bitget exchange right now. You can gain access to exclusive rewards, etc., bonuses in a short-term event that's actually happening, a limited event. I'll leave the event information in the description below. Get some money there, get onto the exchange there, gain access to all those rewards there. It's all in the description below and in the pinned comment, the event, promotion link, etc. And then guys, we've got Crypto Academy. If you want to learn how to trade, you want to trade charts, analyze charts, this is the place you can do it. All the information is on the website. It's a course developed by myself and Mega Crypto with 10 units teaching you how to trade, teaching you how to find trades, market psychology, everything about markets, etc. This is a great level of, or it gives you a great level of knowledge on the market, not only for beginners, but also for intermediate traders, right? People who've been into trading for a long period of time looking to increase their skill levels. The website is in the description below. The email address is on the website. Contact us all there. Finally, guys, the VIP group. If you want to trade altcoins with me on VIP, make some money on altcoins with me. We just had a great trade on, what is it called actually? I'll bring it up so I can actually show you the chart. Here we go. We just had a great trade on this coin here. We had a little triangular formation, little ascending wedge formation, labeled a couple of important targets. We're actually in the middle of this trade right now. Broke down just a day later, and so far on 10x leverage, if we're looking at a short position, we've seen a profit of around, so far, 40% on 10x leverage, or 43, 47% on 10x leverage, with very, very little upside risk there. In fact, no wicks to the upside. So beautiful trade there. If you want more trades like that, check out the VIP group. Check out the results from VIP, 79% win rate. These trades are very common. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.